With the acquisition of Activision from Xbox and Microsoft as a whole, I want to talk in this segment of the show, guys, about what this means for the future of just gaming in general, but really what, obviously all these titles that are now going to be coming in from Activision Blizzard. It's a massive acquisition. Obviously, it's not going to fully go through until 2023, but that being said, there's things that we can definitely talk about right at this moment in time. Activision, guys, obviously holds one of my favorite, titles, that being Call of Duty. They also hold a number of other titles from Blizzard side. I absolutely love StarCraft, and there's a number of titles that I cannot wait to see what ends up happening in the future, because with Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, it gives you a lot of hope. Like games like a StarCraft 3, could that be something that happens now that Xbox acquired them? Could a number of these other titles, could they change the trajectory of some of these franchises? Like, could Call of Duty go from every year to every couple of years, or just a Call of Duty that turns into a League of Legends style where it's, just updated consistently, and all the things that we want within that, within the game to be added or updated? There's so many ways that, Xbox could approach this. But the first big thing to talk about is, is Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard actually creating somewhat of a monopoly? It's something that people have been talking about a lot in the financial world. Obviously, Xbox and Microsoft, of course, they acquired Bethesda. I believe the name was ZeniMax Media, as a whole. And Bethesda, guys, obviously holds a lot of these games. And I think that not only did they purchase that, they now obviously purchased Activision Blizzard, which was it shook the gaming world to its core. So is it creating a monopoly? Well, it's definitely, it's definitely up for conversation and definitely for debate. Hard to say whether we can really consider it a monopoly when you have some of these massive other companies out there that are buying, smaller companies in droves, like Facebook and what Amazon's doing. A lot of these companies are buying tons and tons of different companies, and, the monopoly talk is not one that is significant with some of those companies. But obviously this, are they trying to monopolize gaming? It's definitely a big conversation. Before we go further though, Glassy, I'm going to bring you into this. When you hear the word monopoly in the gaming industry, do you feel that, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard is creating a gaming monopoly? I feel like when, if Xbox went and bought out, let's just say Take-Two, Interactive, which would obviously be all of Rockstar, it would be all these different, companies within Take-Two, or they bought out EA or something of that nature, then I would start saying, yeah, there's definitely something going on here. But do you feel that their acquisition of Bethesda and then the Activision recently of Activision Blizzard is leading us into a monopoly? And do you think that, from a financial perspective, they're going to try to stop this from happening?
Well, first of all, the one thing that I find the funniest is that Activision is basically one of the creators of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, which Crash Bandicoot and Spyro are the faces of PlayStation. So they literally just acquired the faces of PlayStation, and I thought that was the funniest thing. It could be
Yeah.
kind of a monopolization of it. Now, it almost seems more like they're just playing big boy trading cards, because Microsoft is acquiring Activision Blizzard, but Sony just acquired, what was it that they just acquired? They just acquired Bungie. Now, I'm pretty sure they're a little disappointed that Bungie is no longer the creator of Halo. That's 343. So they bought it for 3 point something billion and some change. But there could be a little bit of a monopolization on it. The only problem would be is if the Microsoft developers change the current routes of the games that are already out there. So Activision is, they've got Call of Duty, Destiny, Crash Bandicoot. If the devs start changing Call of Duty in the wrong direction, it could be a big downfall. It could be a huge problem, like perhaps putting jetpacks in there. But I'm not quite sure how we would be. I guess we just have to wait and see what happens to see if we notice any actual changes in the game itself, or are they going to try to maintain some of that originality to the game the way that Sony had it?
Yeah. That leads me to kind of like the second point. Call of Duty, and let's just, these games in general that are coming from Bethesda, that are coming from Activision Blizzard, there's a lot of talk that these games are going to become console exclusives. So there's the question number one, is it going to happen? And the question number two is should it happen? So let's just theoretically, I feel that a lot of the Bethesda games actually, and this may, you might not agree with me, Glassy, but I feel like a lot of the Bethesda titles are going to become Xbox exclusives. I think they're going to take a lot of those titles from Bethesda and they're going to say, look, Elder Scrolls, you're going to have to buy an Xbox to play this, or, Doom, or, if they make another Prey, another Rage, another Fallout, those titles are juggernauts, but they're not so much, they have multiplayer experiences, but they're not if we're talking like Call of Duty and some of those titles, it's a little bit of, it's not on the same, level. There's certainly levels to this thing. Whereas with Activision Blizzard, I feel like some of these titles, like Call of Duty, there's talk that it could very well become a console exclusive. I think it's possible. I don't believe that it's a very smart business decision because PlayStation makes up so much of the market. And, I really don't think it should happen either for a game like Call of Duty. Now, some games, I can understand them doing the console exclusivity. We all know that if Call of Duty became exclusive to Xbox, a lot of people are going to be buying Xboxes for sure. But I still think that the sales perspective of Call of Duty it would drop off very heavily. It would not be any longer be the best-selling game year over year at that point, because not everybody's going to buy an Xbox. So what do you think about that, Glassy? Do you think that, what titles do you think are going to become console exclusives, if any? I was talking the other day with Icon. He's a designer for Synergy, and he said he doesn't think any of them are going to become console exclusives. He just thinks that the partnerships that Xbox makes with Sony about releasing titles, they're going to take a heavier amount of revenue share and things of that nature. What do you think about it, though? Do you think it's going to be a lot of exclusives, none at all, or it's going to be kind of, pick and choose what's going to be a exclusive to Xbox moving forward?
See, I've always been an Xbox guy myself, but I have, for the past year or so, I've been on PC, and one thing I've noticed is that even if you have a PlayStation exclusive or an Xbox exclusive, PC still wins. Because we get all of the games, and usually we get them at a heavier discount too. There's sales going on right now, and there's a game I'm about to buy that's 85% off. So it's like we get tons of sales, and you can't necessarily get that because Walmart's not going to be like, hey, let's match Steam and give this game for 80% off. They won't do that because then they'll lose on their profit margin. I don't think that they will become console exclusives because then they, like you said, they will cut out a huge portion of revenue, especially for the past year or two. For the past couple of years, people have been increasing in PC sales. PC sales have been skyrocketing. PC building has been skyrocketing. I don't think that it'll be exclusive. And even if it is exclusive to the console, I think they'll still release the same version for Steam.
Yeah.
It's only going to increase their sales.
Yeah, it's tough for me. I feel like they made these acquisitions for a reason, and obviously Xbox Game Pass has taken this aggressive approach to be the Netflix of gaming. That's what I kind of keep comparing it to, is it's the Netflix of gaming. And I feel that what Xbox is doing is they are taking the approach of Netflix. So Netflix used to have, like, on their platform, they would kind of have a bunch of other, different creators and obviously different companies that would be producing movies and TV shows, and they would show it on their site, right? And then eventually they started to pump out their own original content. And then obviously it's been a very smart move for them to do that, because obviously all these other companies are now, we got the stream wars in a major way. And obviously Netflix, in order for them to keep their subscriber growth going, they've got to keep pumping out a ton of original content. I feel that Xbox is kind of going in that same direction. They're thinking, you know what, we need to have more exclusive content than anybody else, and we're buying these companies to create that content for us. Now, maybe not all of, their titles. I do feel like they're going to take some of them, though, and they're going to be like, look, we need to take these, and these are now our these are our exclusives, or they take the teams that are working on, let's just say, for example, Elder Scrolls. They take part of that team and they say, look, we're creating a new IP. It's going to be completely a console exclusive. It's going to be this, this, and this. And it kind of gives some of those indie developers, or even the bigger developers, some freedom to create the things that they want to create. And then knowing it's going to be an exclusive to Xbox, it just builds their library of games on Xbox Game Pass. Now, the one thing that I will say for sure is that Xbox is no longer the little brother. I think that for years, and I've been an Xbox person like you, Glassy. I have the PlayStation 5. I've got the Xbox Series S, and I also have the Nintendo Switch. But, I've always been an Xbox person. I just like just how it's laid out. My friends have always been on there. It's been kind of just one of those things. I've just liked the interface. I liked, the controller, the feel, the online modes, just pretty much everything about it I liked more than PlayStation. But this move, and I will say, we go back in time, I've always loved Xbox more than PlayStation, but PlayStation was always superior to Xbox. I mean, there's no debate about it. Nintendo was
really
even,
was, yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? And then Nintendo was above all of them. I mean, really. But what I think now is it's changing, and Sony feels it, because we see Bethesda gets bought out, they get bought out. Then Sony doesn't make a move. Then we see Xbox make this massive acquisition. Sony's like, okay, we got to do something, because what's happening right now is, I believe, the foundation of Xbox trying to make a takeover, essentially, of the, from like not just exclusivity and all that. They want to be the console everyone's talking about, not PlayStation. Nintendo's kind of on its own, in its own trajectory. It always seems to be PlayStation versus Xbox. And I think Xbox is, these are some moves, massive moves, where they are aggressively trying to become the big brother and no longer be the little brother any longer. What do you think about that, Glass? Do you think these moves are telling you, like, Xbox means business? I mean, I started seeing it right when Xbox Game Pass started. I was like, wow, they're doing something pretty smart here. But now when we're starting to see them buy these other companies, they are aggressively, they are not going to allow the narrative around Xbox versus, PlayStation to continue. I don't know, I guess you could say is the weight of power changing in the gaming industry from a console perspective? What do you think?
So the way I like to think about it like this is that Xbox and PlayStation are like Australia, while Nintendo Switch is like New Zealand. Yeah, they're pretty much the same thing, but they're still slightly different. So Nintendo Switch and Nintendo overall, yeah, they're a gaming system and they're a gaming company, but they're doing their own thing. The only thing that they did that was relatively similar was having Grand Theft Auto kind of being ported to them, which even that was a flop. But if we go back to Nintendo, PlayStation and Xbox, so PlayStation had the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 before Xbox even came out. And even when Xbox came out, it was wicked cool. It was cool just from the way it was. First of all, the X-shaped design, the big box itself, it was different. And it was giving Sony competition. Now, the fact that Sony and Microsoft have so much competition, and it's grown and grown and grown, and the tech industry has completely blown up since the early 2000s, Xbox, I feel, really is pulling ahead. PlayStation has their own thing, just like you're able to add in a micro M.2 SSD into the PlayStations, and you still can't do that to the Xbox, but you can add external storage. It's just not the same, because you'll never be able to get the speeds as an M.2 or the storage capacity. Well, actually, you can get more storage capacity out of the external, but I still think Xbox is going to continue pulling ahead because they have more money. Sony is very good in the entertainment industry whenever it comes to creating movies, creating shows, creating products. But Microsoft is always and has always been known as creating tech. So Microsoft, I feel like, is going to continue pulling ahead. Microsoft, especially in the stock market, is still way, way above Sony. And the fact that they just have enough money to be able to pay better devs, to be able to pay better programmers, everything, I think they're eventually going to keep pulling ahead. They're going to keep gapping PlayStation.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, like, let's just say a few years, once we start seeing, like, because I really think it's going to take about 5 years for us to see, once they acquire Activision Blizzard, it's going to take a few years to kind of figure out what the, the vision is here. But I think we all know that they are definitely on this path where they are, like I said, aggressively seeking victory in the console wars for sure. But with that being said, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. What do you think about the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Xbox and Microsoft as a whole? Do you think it's a monopoly? Do you think that this is something that's going to really shake up the gaming industry in a major way where it's going to create the next wave of console exclusives? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comment section down below. And for more content like this, guys, stay here with Zero TV.